Hey everybody, welcome to Chris's Daily Read Aloud, Magic Treehouse Edition. Today we are finishing Magic Treehouse book number 13, Vacation Under the Volcano, by Mary Pope Osborn. If you'll recall, Jack and Annie were running, they got the ancient scroll they needed, and they're currently running back to the treehouse, but they just stopped at the stream, and the bridge was gone. The bridge must have caved in, cried Annie. They stared at the dried up stream. Pumice had piled up in huge drifts like snow. We have to get through that stuff to get across, said Jack. He and Annie slid down the bank onto the piles of pumice. They started to move across it. More and more fell. Jack tried to move through the millions of warm, grayish white pebbles, but he was trapped. I'm stuck, cried Annie. Me too, said Jack. Remember what Morgan said, said Annie. At that moment, Jack couldn't remember anything. He was too tired and dazed. In your darkest hour, only the ancient story can save you, cried Annie. Where's your bag? Jack lifted his bag into the air, above the sea of pumice. Annie grabbed it and pulled out the ancient scroll. She held it up to the dark sky. Save us, story, she shouted. Jack felt himself sink deeper and deeper into the pumice. Suddenly he heard a deep voice say, Rise, son. Then someone lifted Jack up into the air. A great flash of fire lit the dusty darkness. In the red light, Jack saw the biggest, strongest man he'd ever seen in his life. The man looked like a gladiator, but even bigger than the ones they'd seen earlier. He held Jack with one hand and Annie with the other. He placed them both on the other bank of the stream. Run, the giant gladiator boomed, before it's too late. Jack and Annie didn't stop to ask any questions. Together they charged through the olive grove. They jumped over fallen branches. They leapt over great cracks in the earth. Finally they came to the tree with the magic treehouse in it. They grabbed the rope ladder and scrambled up to the treehouse. Where's the Pennsylvania book? Jack shouted. He was too blinded by ash and dust to find the book that always took them home. I've got it, cried Annie. I wish we could go there. Jack felt the treehouse start to spin. Spun faster and faster and faster. Then everything was still. Absolutely, wonderfully, peacefully still. Chapter 10. A simple explanation. Jack didn't move. He had never been so tired in all his life. Breathe, said Annie. Jack gulped in cool, clean air. He opened his eyes. He couldn't see a thing. Take off your glasses, said Annie. They're filthy. Jack took off his glasses. The first thing he saw was his backpack. The white tunics and laced-up sandals were gone. So were their pillow hats and the leather bag. Jack let out a long, deep breath. As he cleaned his glasses on his shirt, a voice came from behind him. I'm very glad to see you safe and sound. Morgan Le Fay stood in the corner of the treehouse. She looked as lovely and mysterious as ever. Happy to be home, she asked. Jack nodded. The sound of the erupting volcano still echoed in his ears. It was pretty scary, he said in a hoarse voice. I know, but you were truly brave, said Morgan. You witnessed a famous event in history. Nowadays, scientists study the remains of Pompeii to find out more about Roman times. I feel bad for all those people, said Annie. Yes, said Morgan, but most of the people of Pompeii did escape. The city wasn't completely buried by ash until the next day. We were almost trapped, said Annie. But we asked the ancient story to save us, then a huge gladiator helped us. Jack reached into his pack. He breathed a sigh of relief. The scroll was still there. He took it out. It was covered with dust and ashes. Here's your story, said Jack. He handed it to Morgan. I am deeply grateful, she said softly. You risked everything to bring this to me. I can never thank you enough. Don't worry about it, said Jack. He didn't want Morgan to know how scared he had been. Yeah, no problem, said Annie. Morgan smiled. You're amazing, Master Librarian, she said. Do you think you're up to rescuing another ancient story? Yes, said Annie. Now, said Jack. He was a little tired now. And Morgan laughed. No, take a nice vacation. Come back 2 weeks from today. Then you will take a trip to ancient China, she said. Ancient China? Wow, said Annie. Oh, man, said Jack. Go home now and rest, said Morgan. She handed Jack his pack. Thanks, he said. Bye. Bye, said Annie. Morgan gave them a little wave. Then Jack and Annie left the treehouse and headed down the rope ladder. When they reached the ground, Jack looked up. Morgan, he called. What is that story about, the one we just rescued? It's called The Strongest Man in the World, said Morgan. It's a lost tale about Hercules. Hercules, said Jack. Yes, he was one of the heroes of the Greeks and the Romans, said Morgan. He was the son of Jupiter. Oh, wow. Now I get it, said Annie. I'm taking it back now to Camelot's library, said Morgan. Everyone will be so excited to read it. Thanks to you. She waved to them. Goodbye for now. As she waved, the wind began to whirl. The treehouse started to spin. In a blur of shadow and light, Morgan and the magic treehouse were gone. Jack and Annie started walking through the woods. Get it? Get it? Said Annie. Get what? Said Jack. We were saved by Hercules, said Annie. We asked the story to save us, and Hercules appeared. That's not possible, said Jack. It was just some gladiator guy. The story of Hercules is a myth. That means he never really lived. They left the woods and started up their street. I know it's a myth, said Annie, but I have a simple explanation. What? Said Jack. Hercules is a myth to people in this time, said Annie, but in Roman times, lots of people believed he was real. So since we were in Roman times, he was real to us. I don't know, said Jack. Did you ever hear the saying, said Annie, when in Rome, do as the Romans do? Jack laughed. Yeah. He looked up at the sky. Thanks, Hercules, he said softly, whatever you are. Jack, Annie, their dad called from the front porch. Time to go. Oh, brother, I forgot, said Jack. Yeah, I hope nothing exciting happens on our vacation, said Annie. Yeah, said Jack. I hope it's really, really boring. Hurry, their dad said. Coming, they called. Then they took off running for home and a restful vacation. The end. I hope you enjoyed this book. I hope you're going to have yourself a very restful vacation soon. I hope you stay safe, wash your hands, and have fun, everybody. Bye.